Hey guys, Juice here. I am here to film a new video for you guys today. Today video is a very exciting, well I hope it's exciting for you guys, exciting video. I have a lot of stack of books sitting around me. That was totally not a complete sentence, but whatever. I have multiple stack of books surrounding me. I have 1, 2, and then 3 stacks of books. Kind of, not a stack, but oh well. Today's video is going to be my favorite books of 2020 video. I am so excited to film this. I read a lot of amazing, new, diverse reads for 2020, and I hope I can keep that going for 2021. I wanted to share my year in 2020 reading analyst stats thingy first, and then I will jump into the books I reread this year, and then read off every single book that I gave 5-star to, and then I will show you my top 20 books that I narrowed it down. So starting off, I read 78,373 pages read this year. I'm currently sitting at 211 books of 2020. My shortest book is Leave the Window Open, a e-novella, and a short story in the what is that? The Unbound series. I couldn't remember it for a second. And then my longest book for the year so far is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas with 985 pages. And then my average book length in 2020 is 371 pages, which I'm shocked because I read a lot of long books this year. My most popular book was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And then my least popular book, because I just finished my reread of this, and that is The Oracle Spear. I haven't taken my bookmark out of it yet because I finished it earlier this week, and this is my least popular book that I read this year. My average rating for 2020 was a 4.2, which I feel like is accurate because I've been giving like a lot of 4 stars and a lot of like 4.5 lately. My highest, I'm laughing because I haven't seen these yet myself. So my highest rating on Goodreads is Heartstopper Volume 3, which is a 4.65 average rating. My first review of the year was Isaiah Dunn is My Superhero, which I gave 5-star to. That was my first review of the year because I read that early from NetGalley. And then now I'm just going to go into all the books that I read for the year of 2020 and just talk about the ones that I read. So, starting off with my rereads, I have Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This was a reread for me. I really wanted to read this because the 3rd book was coming out in October or November, and I still haven't read the 3rd book yet, but I definitely wanted the series I want to wrap up in 2021. I'm also going to film a video of all the series I have unread that I need to finish or get caught up with, coming sometimes this week or next week. And so this is one of the series I want to finish. I love this world. I love book 2 even more. I'm not sure which one I love the most out of both of these books, but this is a middle grade novel set in this fantastical world, and Morgan Crow is cursed, and every time something bad happens in the city, she always got blamed for it because obviously there's this curse on her. So, and then she gets swept away into the Evertide, or not Evertide, into the Nevermore world, and it's all fun and lighthearted and easy to read. And 3 books are out right now. This is supposed to be a 9-book series, which will be crazy long for a middle grade series. So I'm real excited to see what the other books has in store for us, but I still need to read book 3. The next book was actually one of the first books I read for 2021, or for 2020 I think, and that is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is of course a reread for me, and I tabbed it up this time. I don't know if you can see, I tabbed up my favorite quotes in here. I just wanted to like annotate it in an Owl Crate book. So I chose The Wicked King for that because this is one of my favorites in the trilogy. The third book, however, is sadly not my favorite. That's on my disappointing list for 2020. But this one is on my favorite list, and this is a reread, so that's why I'm not counting them on my top 20 books of 2020. So yeah, this one I loved. I can't talk much about this because this is a sequel, and I'm really bad at talking about sequels because I don't know what a spoiler is and when it's not a spoiler for you guys. But this is just the continuation of the Folk with the Air trilogy. The first book is called The Cruel Prince. There's a new book out in this world, and I can't wait to read that one this month or next month. Most likely next month since it's so short. Next, I reread The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I also reread Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, and I also reread Mockingjay this year in order to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that, of course, did not happen at all. I didn't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes yet, but I am really hoping to, and I enjoyed this. This trilogy really stands up in this time, and I first read these like middle school, and I still remember my love for this. I had to get book 1 and 3 from the library though, just because I don't own book 1 and 3 anymore. I used to, but then I sent them out to one of my family members, and I never got them back. So I'm sad about that. Maybe I'll buy their new covers that they have out for this trilogy. So yeah, I reread the whole entire Hunger Games trilogy this year, and I still love this trilogy with all my heart. Next, I reread this in anticipation to finally, hopefully, read the sequel. Again, that didn't happen this year, and that is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. This is a first book in a duology. The second book is called The Crown's Fate, and this is a Russian-inspired fantasy novel, and it's also the author's debut novel. I physically read this the first time I got it, and I loved it. And then this year I listened to it via audiobook, and I loved it even more. The audiobook was narrated by Steve West, who I fell in love with as a narrator recently, and his audiobook narrating is just fantastic. It keeps me engaged with the story, especially like a story like this. This just like a mix of Hunger Games as well as its own type of story. So if you love the Hunger Games and want something different, check out The Crown's Game. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I give this 5 stars, but I'm not mentioning any of my rereads in my top 2020 reads of this year, so that's why I'm doing this half first. And then the next 2 books, I reread this series in part of the Ember's buddy read, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir and A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir. I reread these 2 books this year in order to read book 3 and 4 finally. That still hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping I will get to them sometimes this week. And I'm so in love with these new covers. I can't wait to see how the series ends. I'm really scared to see how my favorite series end because I just started reading these a couple years ago. Whenever this first one came out, I reread Ember multiple times, and then I read this like my second time around, and I love this one more. I'm listening to this series via audiobook. Steve West is also one of the narrators for this. Maybe that's why I'm really loving these 2 books. But I'm scared and nervous to read A Reaper at the Gate. So these 2 books are also on my favorite list that I just wanted to mention. These are definitely honorable mentions, by the way. And then the last book that I reread, I think, is Sal and Gabby Breaks the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. This is yet another middle grade novel. I'm not sure what this one was about, to be honest. Like, I read this so early on in 2020 that I kind of forgot what this was about. I just remember loving it because I listened to it via audiobook. And so I fell in love with this world and universe. I did remember buddy reading this with my friend Libby, who I'll leave her booktube channel down below. And she also went and read the sequel, and I haven't read the sequel yet, but hopefully I can reread this in 2021, and then I will pick up the sequel finally. So those are the ones that I reread, and now I'm going to show you all the books that I read that were 5-star read, and if I don't have them, it's because I borrowed them from the library or they were NetGalley arcs. And then after I come back, I will show you all my top 20 books of 2020. So hold on a sec. So these next couple of books that I highlighted on my list are books that I had as NetGalley arcs, or that were library books that I obviously already returned to my library. The first one out of the 14 books that I want to talk about real quick is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This was Emma Lord's debut novel. This is about two families battling out on Twitter for this recipe that one restaurant got like hacked into the Twitter account, and everything was kind of taken away from them, and so they had like this Twitter war back and forth during school, and it was a well done young adult contemporary novel. I really enjoyed it. I laughed out loud. I gave it 5 stars. It kind of almost made it into my top 20 books of 2020, but I didn't want to put it in there because there was some excellent reads that I had this year. And Emma Lord has a sophomore novel coming out this year, next year actually, and I also have that from NetGalley, and I also have a physical copy of that, so hopefully I can read that soon, because I need to read that before the release date. But Tweet Cute I really loved. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I also love Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. This was another debut contemporary novel. I read a lot of contemporary this year, and I quite enjoyed that. It's one of my favorite genres, and so is fantasy, as you can tell. Don't Read the Comments, if I remember correctly, is about a girl named Vivian, I think, and she is like a huge like gamer, and she wants to start like a gamer YouTube channel type of thing, and she got this one nasty comment from someone, and so it's just like her experience through how she works with social media, and I really like loved it in that aspect of the book. And if I can try and put pictures on the screen, I'll leave the covers on the screen for you guys if I know how to do that. But yeah, Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith is such an amazing debut novel as well, and I really enjoyed it, so that was a 5 stars. There's a series that I wrapped up this year, and that's the Shadow Me series, not a trilogy anymore. The last book called Imagine Me came out in March, and I'm shocked that's like finally over, because there was a lot of books in that series. There's 6 books in that series. I won't be talking much about this one just because this is the 6th and final book of the series, but if you are a fan of the original trilogy and haven't read the new trilogies yet, I definitely recommend them. I didn't love this new trilogy as much as I loved the original trilogy, but I still quite enjoyed these. These are still fast-paced books, easy to read, and very action-packedness, and that's why I love Tahereh Mafi. I can't wait to read her new book coming out sometimes next year. So that's also a 5-star read, and that's also one of the series I wrapped up this year. Then I reread a graphic novel called Check Please Volume 1. I forgot who the author of this one is because it's like one of the author's names that I can't pronounce. So again, I'll try and leave covers up on the screen. And so I really enjoyed this. This is about our main character who loves to bake, and he also is gay, and so there's male romance involved in here. It's also another graphic novel / contemporary novel, and I believe this was also the author's debut novel. As you can tell, I read a lot of debuts this year, which is fantastic because I needed to read a lot more diversely, I guess. And this is definitely one of the diverse read that I wanted to read. I still need to read the sequel to this. The sequel came out this year, so hopefully I can get that when I go book shopping with my friend Taylor. But yeah, I really love Check Please. I read it in like a day, and it was just a fast-paced read and easy to read as well because it was a graphic novel. So I love that one. Then I finally completed the whole Diviners series by Libba Bray. The first book is Diviners, second is Layer of Dreams, Before the Devil Breaks You, and King of Crows. Oh my god, King of Crows wrecked me. I was not expecting to feel a lot of emotion with this series, but I literally binge read the series. I'm not sure. I believe Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reigns, who doesn't make any YouTube videos anymore because she's taking a break, but I'll leave her channel down below if you want to go check her out. Um, but she hosted a Diviners read along either this year or last year. I can't remember what year she did it. But ever since then, I'm like, now I gotta finish out the series. So King of Crows came out this year finally, and I loved it. I wrapped up this series. I was so happy with how it wrapped up. I also cried at the end just because my favorite series is gone. It's the Diviner series is a very creepy, very popular book on BookTube. The Diviner series is set in New York City, 1920s, I believe, with ghost and creepiness and haunted house feels, and like a radio show. There's also a podcasting element in this one, which I really loved. So if you haven't read the Diviner series yet, go check it out. It's by Libba Bray. All four of them are out, and I might buy them for myself as a Christmas present because I just absolutely love them. And I hate the cover changes because, like, book one has the original pretty cover, and then book two has the also original pretty cover, and then book 3 and 4 change halfway through the series. So I hate how they did that, but hopefully I'll get a whole hardcover set of that series soon. The next book I read was Felix Ever After. I forgot who the author of this one as well. I'm sorry. But Felix Ever After was such another... Oh, Case and Calendar was... I don't know if this was the author's debut novel, but I read this one in like one sitting, and it was amazing. If you love Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, definitely check this one out. That book gave me all the Simon feels, and I just loved it. And I actually physically read this one from my library, and I just already, like I said, I already returned it to my public library, so I don't have it yet. But this is definitely like one of those books where I read it from the library and absolutely loved it, and I want my own copy. So hopefully I can get myself a copy of this book because I really loved it. Then I read The Black Flamingo. Oh my god, another diverse read and a debut novel. And also, this book was written in verse, and also another book that made me cry. If you guys want a video of that, let me know as well, because I buddy read The Black Flamingo with my friend Emily, and we literally buddy read it via FaceTime over the summer, and I was just like, over the phone. And like, it's just a beautiful book. Definitely check it out. It has to do with drag queens, and it's LGBT contemporary novel, and it was also the author's debut novel. His sophomore novel comes out sometime next year, and it's also written in verse, so I'm real excited for that. The next book I read, I actually completed another series this year, and that was Supernova by Marissa Meyer. This is the third installment in the Renegades trilogy. I read Renegades last year during the summertime and loved it. I gave it 5 stars last year, and then I read Arch Enemies this year actually, but that was like a 3.5 and 4-star read for me. And then I finally wrapped up the series this year. I believe Supernova came out last year, so it's still pretty recent. This is a superhero novel. The whole trilogy is out now, obviously, I just said that. Superhero set in New York City during modern day time, and it was just super well done. I definitely recommend that series. I also recommend that series via audiobook. That's how I was able to wrap the series up. But yeah, that's another series I wrapped up. Another series, I didn't realize there was a lot of series I read this year. Another series I wrapped up was the Tea Dragon series by Katie O'Neill. So I read the 3rd book, and I read the Tea Dragon Tapestry, and this was just so cute and wholesome. And this one was supposed to come out during the summertime, so that's why I read it so early. And then I checked on Goodreads recently, because I'm going to do a 2021 most anticipated reads. And I believe this one got pushed back to the summer of next year, which sucks for you guys, because The first two books were amazing, and I can't wait to get my hands on all three of these sometime soon. But yeah, this is definitely one I love and I will totally read again. Another book I will totally read again was Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. This is the second novel from Rory Power. She's the author of Wilder Girls, and I haven't read Wilder Girls yet, but I love Burn Our Bodies Down. This is a YA mystery thriller. I forgot what the setting is, but like this book, I buddy read with my friend Heather, and I loved it. I think the buddy reading also helped us with getting this NetGalley arc and review out. I already put my review up on Goodreads, which I'll leave down below. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Another 5-star read. Another 5-star read was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This was an autobiography novel. I said I haven't read any nonfiction, but I actually realized as I was gathering my books up for this list, that is a nonfiction read. So yay, well done. I really enjoyed this. It was so hard to listen to though. I listened to this via audiobook. There's some dark stuff that the author talks about. I'll leave the trigger warnings down below for this book, but it was so hard to get through. That's why I gave it 5 stars. I felt emotional reading it, and then I cried a little bit, but not as much as the other books that I talked about. So yeah, that one I read. And then of course I already mentioned that I read Isaiah Dunn Is My Superhero. I mentioned this earlier in the video. I loved it, gave it 5 stars. Such a great middle grade from a person of color, and I really can't wait to read more books by her. Then we have A Song of Wraith and Ruins by Rosanna A. Brown. Oh my god, guys, this fantasy book came out at the perfect time. I read this in August, and I think it was just the perfect time for me to read that book. The sequel to that one comes out sometimes next year as well, so that's also on my list because I love the first book so much. I read it in like 2 days, and I was just like, that's how you're gonna leave me? You're gonna leave me on a cliffhanger, and I have to wait a whole year for book 2. But I guess that's how the author knows she done her work. And then the last book that I want to talk about before we dive into the books that I actually read is The House on the Carolean Sea by T.J. Klune. I cannot thank my friend Lori enough for this book. Oh my god, I read this in October for my friend's Pick My TBR, which completely failed. That's why you guys haven't seen it, but I read this was the only book I read from that stack of books that I had, and I'm so happy I chose this. It's a sweet, wholesome adult contemporary novel, but yet it does not feel like an adult novel. It felt like a YA novel. I read it in 3 days, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. That did make my top 20 list, but I also just want to mention it very quickly. So yeah, those are the books that I don't own, so if I know how to put covers up on the screen, I'll put them up. But now we're going to jump into the books that I gave 5 stars to that didn't make it onto my list.